Marlin. Marlin. Marlin.
What?
Welcome back to the Scale Builders Guild. Thanks again for watching. Today we're taking another look at the RC 4-wheel drive TF2 Marlin Crawler edition. And this is after some substantial upgrades and modifications to this truck to make it worthy for Class 1 competition. You may remember from previous videos, I started with a very stock Marlin Crawler, did a first look, did a review, did some driving with it. Definitely like this version a lot. There are some excellent upgrades from the factory that make this TF2 the best one on the market. And if you want to know what those are, I invite you to go back, take a look at those older videos. There's a lot to learn from them. I will put a thingy up in this corner up here. Go ahead and click on that if you want to see those videos right now. This video is about taking that stock truck and adding a lot of upgrades, making a lot of changes, making a lot of modifications to make this truck not only my own, but to make it much more competitive in a Class 1 scenario. As it stands with all of the features and accessories that I've added to this truck, it does point out at 50 points. That's right where you want to be. You want to make sure that you're tempering your scale points with your driving ability. So if your driving ability sucks, you want to make sure you've got as many scale points as possible to offset that terrible driving. I've got the truck here in front of us. Let's go over all the details together. Now, of course, any good modification for me starts with the body. Let's try to make this truck our own, make it a little more original, and make it stand out from the other Marlin Crawlers that we're definitely going to see in Class 1 competition. I decided to paint mine yellow. This is a Tamiya TS color. I believe it's that one. This is Tamiya TS47 Chrome Yellow. The paint has been weathered. I used a mixture of washes and a few pigments to kind of dirty it up a little bit and to give it a bit of grime and dirt overall. The biggest modification you will see right away is the cut doors. This is what a traditional Marlin Crawler looks like. Marlin cut his doors, added these roll bars on the side here as sort of to prevent you from falling out, I guess. And I wanted to give this truck a Marlin look, and that's definitely one good way to do it. I also added some Toyota badges, as well as the Scale Builders Guild badges on the side there. That's just a nice little thing that Knight Customs is offering. You can pick those up on his Shapeways store. I'll put a link in the description below. In addition to the cut doors, I also added my own roll bar. I brazed up some brake line that I had handy and put that together, screwed it into the bed so it's a nice firm fit, and gives you a few extra SORRCA points because that is a metal roll bar. There's also some tiny GoPros that I've attached to this truck. I wanted to try to give this truck a bit of a theme, and the theme of this truck is the driver is a action sports photographer. So obviously he's got GoPros, he's got some cases in the back of the bed there that have a lot more GoPros in them. There's a tripod that I made just to give him a bit of a personality. Pelican cases in the rear are also from Knight Customs. I did a little bit of paint work and weathering to make them look old and used and abused. There's also a high lift jack in the back there. Non-functional scale points are my bread and butter. It's where I spend 90% of my time making sure I have all those little doodads and accessories to make sure that I'm getting as many of those non-functional scale points as I can. I'll put a link in the description below where you can pick up all of James's parts from his Shapeways store. The interior is a mix of Tamiya, RC 4-wheel drive, and some scratch-built styrene pieces. It's not a full-depth floor because there's not a lot of room on a TF2, and I wanted to make sure I still had some room for a battery, so it is a knees-up driver. It's a Tamiya bruiser driver. This is a resin recast repop, and I've painted and detailed that with Citadel paints. The dashboard is from the RC 4-wheel drive TF2 kit. The seat is from a Tamiya bruiser interior, and a little bit of styrene helps kind of fill it all out. There is a tiny little pocket in there, like a map pocket, and in that map pocket is an actual tiny maps to stars homes, and that's actually a Simpsons gag, and if you unfold it you'll see that it is actually that map of the stars homes. There's a CB radio, there's a mini gnome on the dashboard, and there is definitely, because it's a Marlin Crawler, a Marlin Crawler transfer case shifter. This is the stock Marlin steel bumper that comes with the RTR Marlin Crawler. I decided to paint it red just to give it a bit of a look. I've added a worn winch fairlead and a worn winch. There's also a Viking safety thimble on there, and that's what I use to attach my land anchor. Scalerfab supplied the sliders and rear bumper. I opted to leave them raw. I like the raw metal look, and I like how it ages over time. It starts to oxidize on its own, gets a little bit of rust, and to me just adds another level of realism. So that's why I leave them unpainted. I also added a small exhaust pipe, which is just a piece of 3/16 brake line that I had lying around. Nice to have that little bit of added realism as well. Plus extra scale points. I always do a little bit of comedy on every one of these trucks, and the Marlin Crawler body and bed as it comes doesn't have any lettering on the back, so I trimmed out some letters to form the word Tuda. If you've seen any of my previous TF2s or any of my Toyota trucks for that matter, I always do some sort of comedy on the back, whether it be the flipped one that Noob did on the Trailblazer, missing a letter, missing all the letters, just one letter, lots of one letter. There's a lot of different little things that I do, and it's always a nod to me trying to add some comedy to the back of the truck. So that's that there. The wheels and tires are Incision KMCs with Locked Up RC metal beadlock rings and scale hardware from Locked Up RC. I have wrapped those with Proline Hyrax 4.19 tires. The only other thing I did want to show you is this is a propane tank, and you're like, yeah, that's a propane tank. That's cool. It's more than just a propane tank. This is a PowershiftRC Deadman Switch. I don't have to worry about unplugging or plugging in the battery every time I get to a new stage of the comp. I can literally pull off the top of this propane tank, and that cuts the power to the entire truck. This is a really handy feature. Jonathan at PowershiftRC came up with this, and I had to have one. It's an incredible little thing, and if you follow our Instagram, you've seen the looping boomerang that we put up there. It's one of our most popular posts ever, because this is definitely the killer RC accessory of the year. I haven't seen anything else quite like this before, and it just brings so much functionality, especially to a comp environment where you're constantly waiting around. Why kill the battery? Just pull that off, kills the whole truck. It's amazing. He makes them in the propane tank. There's a battery. I think he did a power tank as well. He's got a couple other ones in the works. I will put a link in the description below to where you can pick one up. Definitely get one of these. This is very cool. With that in mind, one of the things that I've always had a lot of trouble with, especially the TF2, is getting the body off and getting at the battery. It's always been a real big pain. Undoing all those screws and lifting the body off, and now I've got inner fenders. They catch on the shocks, it's super annoying. So I would rather not have to take the body off at all. Or if I do, I only want to do it once. So rather than do all that screwing and unscrewing.
That's what she said.
Well, delivery's all wrong, she's butchering it.
I put a couple of grub screws in where those mounting posts are, and now the body is a friction fit. It's perfect. It totally eliminates all the struggle, and because of the Deadman Switch, I only have to really get into there twice. Once to put the battery in, and once to take the battery out. Now let's go into some of the mechanical changes that I've made to this truck. First and foremost, go back and watch the top tips for leaf spring trucks video that I created a few months back. That's very important to the performance of a TF2. All very useful tips. I invite you to go check out that video. I'll make sure to link to it at the end of this video. I've also added a bunch of parts from A&M Garage. Bert has created some very excellent bits that are a perfect fit for the TF2, especially in a comp environment. The first one's a little bit more of a cosmetic thing, but it's a shackle reverse for the front. All Toyotas of this generation had the shackle in the rear, not in the front. So this flips it around so it's proper as per scale accuracy. I've also added his skid plate and transfer case mount. This is very important as it flips the transfer case and gives you overdrive to the front axle. It's a pretty aggressive overdrive, so you will have to watch your gearing and your motor. Things could get out of shape, especially on harder surfaces. The skid plate is excellent. It raises the entire transfer case up and gives you a much flatter, wider surface on which to slide over obstacles. I got rid of the stock drive shafts and used some custom cut axial wild bore drive shafts. These work great and hold up to a lot of abuse, despite the fact that they are mostly plastic. For electronics, I'm running a Holmes Hobbies BRXL brushed ESC mated to a 35-turn Crawlmaster Holmes motor. I'm also running a high-tech HS79545298471XB47SH servo. It's a high-tech 79545SH servo. And it's just a high torque, high speed, high voltage servo that I had from a previous comp build. One of the major changes I decided to try and make with this truck was to do something called mixing. And mixing is part of the DX5C Spectrum radio that I'm using, where you can have one channel react specifically to another channel. For example, what I wanted to do was I wanted to have the winch spooling in as I was applying throttle. So I only had to use one hand and only think about one thing as I'm trying to get out of a winch scenario. I do have the winch on its own channel, of course, so I can control it that way at any time. But with mixing, I don't have to worry about throttle and trying to use the winch at the same time. This does it all for me. I can apply throttle and the winch will spool in at the same time. I think it just takes away a level of complexity and hopefully will allow me to actually feather throttle and give the right amount of winch spool at the same time. It's an interesting feature and I'm looking forward to seeing how it works. I always find myself, especially in a comp situation, getting a little bit flustered and a little bit frustrated by having to winch and throttle at the same time, so hopefully this mixing system will prevent me from doing a lot of swearing.
I have had it with these monkey fighting snakes on this Monday to Friday plane.
So that's the rundown of the Marlin Crawler TF2 edition, comp setup style. Hope you got something out of this video. I'll be sure to post all the links that I said I was going to post in the description below. So if you have any questions, please always put them in the comments below. I respond to every single comment. As well, if you like this video, be sure to like it, and if you haven't, subscribe to the channel. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you again soon.